Now, if you're looking for a book that will motivate your children and boost their confidence, then today's installment of The Bookshelf is just the thing. Miss South Africa, Shudufhadzo Musida, has published a book, Shudu Finds Her Magic, which is available in 6 languages and includes colorful illustrations. The book is aimed at children aged between 4 and 9 years old. It's inspired by Shudufhadzo's childhood and the bullying she experienced when she moved to a new province. She joins us now live in studio for more. Thank you very much, Shudu, for your time. Now, a lot of people, you get to a point where you are in life and what you've achieved becoming Miss South Africa, and people don't realize that there are some things that you also went through yourself to become who you are today. Tell us a little bit more about the book and your grandmother and grandfather.
So this book was inspired by my own childhood, as you said, but I think for me it was a moment of healing and coming out victorious on the other side. Because the thing about bullying is that even when it's done, you still have psychological trauma from it. So the whole point of this book was to just make sure that we introduce mental health education for children without using big words that they don't understand, but just experiences that they may go through. I remember I was at a school for grade 1s, and by the time we were done reading the book to them, I asked them what did they learn, and they said that we need to speak up if someone is hurting us. We need to speak up, tell a parent, tell a teacher, but also the fact that they have to be kind to one another. So this book speaks to the power of friendship and just knowing that you're good enough just the way that you are, which is something that my grandparents taught me. They taught me that the beauty that lies within will be the beauty that comes out of me as well. And I'm perfect just the way that I am. And this book was just a reminder for children as well to remember that and that their voices matter.
Do you still go through those moments, like, childhood triggers sometimes come up when you're in your adult life as well, and maybe somebody out there says something to you that triggers you and takes you back to that time in Mpumalanga at the school when you were being bullied?
I think most of the time when other people say things, I'm not really bothered by it, but it's more of the things that I may say to myself, because something that people don't realize is that even when the bullying stops, we tend to, especially if you're used to it, you tend to start bullying yourself. So the conversations that we have with ourselves are quite important. So there'd be days where I'm just like, not feeling the day or whatever, but then I find myself not being very positive or being very kind to myself. So I always advocate for people to be kind to themselves first, because it's such a necessary thing. Have positive conversations with yourself. And I think this is exactly it, because through the power of friendship, through my friend telling me, hey, you're perfect just the way that you are, it reminded me of my great-grandmother saying it to me as well. So the conversations that we have with ourselves are so important, just as the conversations we have with other people are important too.
I mean, I know it's a children's book meant for 4 to 9-year-olds, but I must say I enjoyed it, and I'm well over that age. But also what I really enjoyed, and I just want to quickly go to that page so that we can show the people, the viewers, exactly what I'm talking about. Over here, you describe this one, for instance.
Yes.
She describes her great-grandmother so eloquently, and you describe it to the T about the wrinkles on her face, etc. And I see that they tried to get that drawing exactly. And you said she was as brown as the sand, for instance, in your description of her. Do you miss her?
I miss her every single day. I remember sometimes she'd be sitting with the elders and they'd be having a meeting, and I'd just sit there and I'd play with her hand, right? Like I'd just play with her hand. She had this boil thing on her hand, and then I'd just play with it. My favorite times was when I was just playing with her hands. She was the most amazing woman, the matriarch of the Musida family, and to this day I feel like the lessons that she imparted onto me made me the person that I am, gave me the qualities to be in Miss South Africa, because she was such an amazing woman. I miss her every single day, but I know she's always around. Like I always feel her with me. I believe that I stand on a mountain of just values and ethics that she instilled in me. Yeah.
I think what also made me enjoy reading this book, although like I said I'm well over the age, is because you talk about very important things in this book. I mean, for instance, it resonated with me when you spoke about your mother having to leave because she needed to find a job. I think for many people who are from rural areas, Johannesburg and other town provinces or richer provinces, our parents had to leave us with our grandparents to look after us while they go somewhere else to try and make the money. So that resonated with me a lot.
I think it just tells, like you're saying, it's a story about many South Africans as well. I mean, obviously she wouldn't want to just leave, but she knew she had to leave to make a living. And I had to follow as well because I really missed my mother. And I'm so thankful that the sacrifices she's made have brought me to this point. I mean, I am the person that I am today because of her. In as much as the experience of living there was not the greatest, I think I'm so thankful that it shaped me to be the person that I am today. There's so many things that we go through as individuals, and then we realize that some things maybe were meant to happen, because now I can speak to children that are being bullied. I can tell the story and just let them know that they're not alone. You are never, ever, ever alone, and that your voice matters. I think that's the biggest thing that we need to let our children know, is the fact that their voices matter. Because for the longest time, I feel like society teaches kids to be silent instead of speaking up. And this book just tells them, use your voice because it matters, and there's always someone that's willing to listen. You're never alone.
I think the other part that was very important for me is what I think still happens today. You know, when you move to live with your mother in Mpumalanga, and you describe in the book, very short, obviously, because, you know, it's for children, and you don't describe it, you know, you don't get into it too much. But I think it still happens in South Africa today, where people discriminate against people because of their language.
Yes.
I mean, you were discriminated against just because you didn't speak isiZulu or whatever they spoke in Mpumalanga. All because you spoke Tshivenda.
It was, that was the thing that didn't make any sense to me, because how do you discriminate against someone just because of where they come from? I think that's the importance of having this book in the many different languages as well, because language is not supposed to be a barrier. We are relational beings for a reason. And I got to a point where I felt like I needed to lie about who I was, just so the bullying would stop. You know, when you're trying to fit in, but you can't really fit in because you're trying to bully me about something that I cannot change about myself. So that's why we emphasize the importance, or the message, that you're perfect just the way that you are, because the world can make us feel like we're not good enough because of X, Y, Z, but like there's a reason why we're different. And as a society, I believe that we need to start embracing difference, because that's the beauty and that defines this country, the diversity that we have.
I just want to also show the viewers again what I'm about to ask you now. You know, we are so proud of you as South Africans for representing us on world stages with your natural look. And I realize in your book, and I'm just showing the viewers right now, in your book, all the drawings are of you with short hair. Have you always had short hair? Not always. When I was younger, when I lived in the village, I had short hair. And then I grew it up for a bit. And then in grade 5, I was being bullied so bad that I cut my hair. I went completely bald. So I stayed like that for about 2 years, and then I grew my hair again. But being bald before, I remember when I posted about it in 2015, after I cut my hair, like I just went completely bald. And I spoke about how the first time that I chose to cut my hair. The first time that I chose to cut my hair was because I was being bullied. Now at least I get to cut my hair because I want to. It's for me. It's not for anyone else. So cutting my hair and being the way that I am now has been a very empowering thing for me, because the first time I did it, not when I lived in the village, but when I did it in Mpumalanga, was because I was being bullied in grade 5. So I cut my hair in grade 5. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your grandmother. You said she was the matriarch, and I think you start the book by saying she had promised you to tell you some stories, and she was making, I think it was pumpkin seeds or something for you. What seeds were they?
It's called muroatanga, so it's a pumpkin leaf dish.
Oh.
So when she cooks it, she used pumpkin leaves, and then she would ground some nuts as well. So she puts it together. It's my favorite, probably my favorite meal.
Still
ever.
right now.
Still right now. Every time when I go home, I have to tell my aunt to please make it for me.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way. Please make it for me. Like I really like it.
Yeah. So my dad is Betty, so he says they call it boswa. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. So in there you talk about the fact that she would tell you these stories, and one day you just decided to show her how you feel like one of the princesses that she describes in this book. Did you ever think about her, of course, and that particular day when you were announced Msese?
I think I thought about a lot of things. I thought about how when I went home, people would tell me, because I was a model before, so I would have like small features in magazines, and my grandmother would sleep with that magazine underneath her pillow because she was just so proud of that moment. And even with the stories that my great-grandmother used to tell me and my grandmother used to tell me, I was always a very special child, very different from so many other people, to the point where my grandfather says, I'm a hippie, because I'm just so different. But when I was standing on that stage and they announced my name, everything finally made sense. You know, like I've always, my mom always used to say, people, especially when I was being bullied, she said, people will never attack someone who's not anointed. There's an anointing upon your life that you don't know about. And just know that one day you're gonna understand why. And in that moment when they announced my name, I finally understood why. How when I was growing up, I've always dreamed of a world that is bigger than what was around me. I mean, I lived in Habangani, where there was hardly much there. Like there was basically nothing. But I used to dream about this big world. You know, I'd be watching wrestling. I'm like, one day I'm gonna go to Madison Square Garden. One day I'm gonna do this. And when I won, it felt like my dreams were valid. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter your status in life or whatever else. Like, your dreams are valid. And in that moment, I knew that anything that I wanted, I could have. Because your dreams are valid. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, tell me about the 6 languages that you've chosen for this book. I've got the English version. What are the other 5?
Sesotho, isiZulu, isiXhosa, Afrikaans and Tshivenda and English, and we are hoping to print more in the other languages as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So just very quickly, in the spirit of Heritage Month, I want to learn to say something in Tshivenda.
Okay.
I want to learn to say, I am beautiful just the way I am.
Ndonaka ndotorari.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to see us here on eNCA with your book, Shudu Finds Her Magic. And of course, at the end, you talk specifically about the day that you were crowned. And I think for a lot of people, it'll be taking them back to who you really are.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time here on eNCA, and thank you for physically coming through.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for purchasing the book. It means a lot.
It's a pleasure. Well, that is, of course, Miss South Africa, Shudufhadzo Musida, speaking to us about her book here on the bookshelf. This edition comes in 6 different languages. So if you are a Sesotho-speaking person, you can definitely get this for your child. It's targeted at children between the ages of 4 and 9.